Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. On behalf of Mayor Victor Gordo and Chief Gene Harris, I'm Art Shute from the Pasadena Police Department, the Deputy Chief. I'm honored to be here and welcome all the individuals behind me for this press conference. It was only a few years ago that we heard the heartbreaking story of a little boy from our community who had gone missing. The disappearance of little Piqui would go on to grip the community for many weeks until the painful news that he had been found without life. The story and the agony felt by Piqui's mother, Ana Estevez, would not go unheeded for long. With us is State Senator Susan Rubio, who soon after her election to the state legislature has become the leading champion and advocate for victims of domestic violence. We are here to support her latest piece of legislation, Senate Bill 331, Piqui's Law, which seeks to achieve judicial reform needed to ensure that other families are safeguarded from experiencing what Piqui and her mother had to endure. At this point, I would like to introduce Senator Susan Rubio, author of Senate Bill 331, Piqui's Law.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. It is such an important day to gather, such an important issue to highlight, and all our collective voices to really be loud enough so that Governor Newsom hears our plea to sign SB 331. I want to thank, first of all, City of Pasadena for allowing us to use their space to bring attention to this issue. I want to thank all of the advocates behind me who have stood with me, I would say the last 3 years that we continue to fight for this important piece of legislation. Thank you for your voices. Thank you for your advocacy. We cannot do this alone. It's been a fight. It's been a battle. But here we are, one step closer to getting Piqui's Law signed. I want to particularly thank my friend, Ana Estevez, Piqui's mom. Your courage, Ana, to keep fighting every single day to make sure that other children are safe inspires me every day. Piqui has become everyone's son. We all care very much about Piqui, Ana, Grandma behind me, and passing Senate Bill 331 in honor of Piqui. We're here today because survivors of domestic violence, mothers of murdered children, advocates, community leaders are imploring that the state of California finally take action to reform courts that sometimes don't get it right, like in the case of Piqui. Today is bittersweet in so many ways because we are here to celebrate that we finally got SB 331 off the Senate floor and Assembly floor. We've tried years past and we weren't successful. So today we're finally here and that bill is on its way to the governor's desk. And it's bittersweet because we know that Piqui is not here with us. It's not going to bring Piqui's back. And we have to deal with the senseless tragedy and loss of a beautiful little boy who was robbed of a lifetime of smiles, memories. Ana Estevez, who will never get to see Piqui graduate. She'll never see Piqui get married, create his own family, and become a productive member of our society. She will never get to see that. So it is time that we take action to ensure that this tragedy doesn't happen to another family. Today, I am proud that we were able to pass Piqui's Law through the Senate and the Assembly, but I'm really angry because it continues to happen to so many other families, and we haven't been able to stop it. I want to speak about the Sam sisters, who last year were gunned down by their father, Samia, Samantha, and Samara. Their mother pleaded with the courts to not give her 3 little girls to the abusive husband. There was evidence of escalating behavior from assaulting a police officer, saying he wanted to kill himself and wanted to kill her, verbalizing how distressed he was. There was evidence that he had a gun. And yet those little girls continue to be put in the hands of an abuser with a restraining order. We cannot help them today, but I'm hopeful that Piqui's Law will continue to help children in the future. And my heart goes out to Ileana, the mother of those 3 little girls, who really tried to turn to the court day after day and did not get what she needed, and that was for her 3 little girls to be in her home, not that of her abuser. I want to just highlight that I don't think that judges start out wanting to make wrong decisions, and I'm sure they all want to do the right thing, but they're not trained to understand the complexities of domestic violence and child custody cases. They're not trained, not all of them. And this bill will ensure that there's training, that they understand patterns of behavior, understand what happens in a home with violence. Some of us are privileged enough to come from good homes, and I'm not sure we would recognize what that looks like. And so this training is critical because it will save lives. The bigger travesty here is that Piqui's case is not isolated, and we know that the Sam sisters is one case, Piqui's another, and I could go on and on and on of so many cases where children were murdered after parents pleaded with judges not to let their children go to abusive hands. According to the Center for Judicial Excellence, there have been 962 children murdered by a separating or divorcing parent since 2008. Of those 962 children, 89 have been from California. And every year, the number keeps going up. This year, as I introduced Piqui's Law, SB 331, we wanted to ensure that there was reform in the courts that put the priority, the safety of children first, before that of the courts. And today, as we pass Senate Bill 331 in the Senate and the Assembly, and now it's on its way to the governor's desk, we're here, one collective voice, to urge Governor Newsom to please save children and sign Piqui's Law. We have gathered here today because these advocates behind me understand that this is necessary. They understand the fight we've had, and it's been 3 years in the making, and we still don't have a bill that's signed. So I hope he hears our plea. Governor Newsom, please save lives and help us sign this bill into law. There's another part of this bill that's critically important to families, and that is protecting children from reunification camps. And that is a practice of taking children away from their safe parent, away from their school, their belongings, their friends, and sometimes ripping them away in the middle of the night as if they were kidnapped. And that is a lifetime of trauma that these children have to endure. As a teacher for 20 years, I can share with you that a child that's taken away from one day to another, never going back into their classroom to say hello, goodbye to their teacher and their friends, is not healthy. And yet we continue to allow this to happen in courts. So this bill will also prevent this practice from ever happening again. SB 331 will protect children in family courts by prohibiting the court from ordering non-licensed, unregulated treatments and counseling. In a few moments, you will hear firsthand from a speaker who faced difficulty in family court, as well as the children who actually were taken away and dealt with the tragedy of this practice. These children are brave enough to be here to tell their story because they don't want this happening to another child. And so I want to thank all of you, the media and everyone listening, everyone behind me, because it is critically important that we continue to push collectively to make sure that Governor Newsom signs this bill and that Anna, who's been fighting so many years, finally gets Piqui's bill signed into law. To my friend Anna, who's been on this journey with me for a long time, I know her heart, and I know how much it hurts. But she's still putting herself out here because we all need to hear from her. We need to hear what happens to a family that's devastated like hers was. And she will be speaking for a few moments. So please allow me to welcome my friend Ana Esteves.
Good morning. I would like to begin by recognizing Senator Susan Rubio for her incredible work and ongoing commitment to keeping children safe from abuse, and for leading the effort in family court reform. I also want to thank the many co-authors from both the Senate and Assembly who courageously support and advocate for Senate Bill 331, also known as Piqui's Law. I'm truly honored to see all of you here today, all of the advocates, all of the victims, all of the supporters. Thank you to Mayor Gordo and the city of Pasadena for hosting us today. My deepest thanks to the California Protective Parents Association for sponsoring and believing in this bill, to Crime Survivors and Family Court Awareness Month for co-sponsoring, and to Sandy, Paula V, Tina, Kathy, Crystal, and Team Rubio for their passion and dedication to getting Piqui's Law to the finish line. I also want to thank you, the media, for being here today and covering this important topic. I want to thank my family and my friends. I also want to thank LA County Sheriff's Department Homicide Detective Louis Aguilera, who is here with us today. Louis was the lead homicide detective who brought my Piqui home to me. And I also want to thank the thousands of advocates and survivors for your ongoing support, your prayers, and your love for Piqui. Because of you, his legacy lives on. It has been 6 years since Piqui's death, and the journey has been long. Not a day goes by that I don't miss or think of my son. And not a second goes by that I don't wish that it was me instead of him. The common threads that have brought us here together today are Piqui and keeping children safe. Piqui's Law is a bill that has been in the making for a number of years and began in 2018 when Piqui's resolution was drafted and passed in the California State Assembly. Last week, legislators of the Senate and Assembly sent a very powerful message by unanimously passing Piqui's Law and committing to prioritizing child safety in family court. Once enacted, Piqui's Law will ensure that training programs are established for judges and court-related professionals. Reporting requirements are established to document training completed by judges, and that judges are prohibited from ordering children into highly traumatic, unregulated reunification treatment programs, also known as camps. The provision in this bill that I would like to highlight as it relates to my son Piqui and our experience in family court is the training program for judges. The goal of the education program is to improve the ability of courts to recognize and respond to child abuse, domestic violence, and trauma in family victims, particularly children, and to make appropriate custody decisions that prioritize child safety. Family court is not the venue for on-the-job training. Judges are often assigned without proper training or depth of knowledge needed to make informed decisions related to domestic violence, child abuse, and other complex family law issues. According to the Achieving Equal Justice for Women and Men in California Courts study conducted by the Judicial Council of California, it was determined that more attorneys with demonstrated expertise in family law are needed and should be appointed to the family court bench. Piqui's Law will not solve all of the challenges facing family court, but it is a monumental first step in addressing the systemic crisis we currently face. High-quality training increases an individual's skill set and empowers one to perform their job well. Complex issues arise daily in family court, and if we expect better outcomes, we must ensure that judges are well prepared for the heavy lift that awaits them. Developing a robust training program will take time and will cost money. If the state of California were to conduct a cost-benefit analysis for educating judicial officers on complex family law matters, it would find that the education program is a small investment that will yield high returns for our state. According to the CDC, in the United States, the total lifetime economic burden associated with child abuse and neglect was about $592 billion in 2018. Change comes with a price. And for me, that price was losing my son. Piqui's legacy is not about leaving something for people. It is about leaving something within people. The passage of Piqui's law will never benefit or protect my son, but it will impact thousands, and it will keep children safer from family violence. So, Governor Newsom, I humbly ask that you put yourself in my shoes for a moment and reflect on the following question. If your child was murdered, what would you ask your governor to do to prevent something similar from happening in the future? California's children are depending on you, and I respectfully ask you, Governor Newsom, to sign Senate Bill 331 and enact Piqui's law. Thank you.
Next, I would like to invite Maya Ling, who was a child forced into reunification, and she will tell her story.
My name is Maya Lang. I'm 16 from Santa Cruz, and we teach children when an adult harms us or we are afraid, we should ask for help. When me and my brother had the courage to talk about being abused, we did that. We asked for help from many adults, including the police and courts. Instead of being protected, we were forced into intensive reunification therapy against our will. I told my story at court. Instead of being listened to and protected, I was treated like a criminal. On October 20th, 2022, the court called me a liar, ignored my testimony, and gave full custody to the parent we felt unsafe with and did not want to be with. That night, we were violently taken. We were kidnapped. It was a court order, but that does not make it right. We were at my grandmother's house, trying to hide and not be taken. 3 large adults we did not know cornered us. I was holding on to my brother and my friend Kirsten, who are both here with me today. When I saw them grab my brother and take him to the waiting car, I knew I had to fight. I knew I was strong enough to take what was going to happen, but I feared for him. They picked me up by the arms and legs and dragged me to their car. As they tried to wrestle me into the car, my head hit against the car door and I partially lost consciousness. My lip was split open. I tried to wrestle free and escape, but they grabbed me and pressed me against the ground. My jeans were pulled down in front of my friends, family, and police. Then I was shoved into the car. I was held down on the floor of the car until we got onto the freeway. Me and my brother sat in the back seat of the car, sobbing and trying not to let go of each other. After suffering this extreme trauma, it did not end. This was the start of reunification camp. The therapists interrogated us for 4 days. They threatened us, saying we would be sent to a wilderness camp with no food or blankets until we cooperated. We learned that to survive, we needed to pretend our abuse never happened. The therapists called us sociopaths and said we had, quote, false memories. We went 7 months with no communication with our father, stepmother, and step-siblings. No one was even allowed to know where we were. We were forced to change our last name and hide our experience from everyone we met. This is our family court system today. This was deemed in our best interest. Piqui's law would have protected us. Piqui's law bans forced therapy like this and the forced transport to these therapy programs. We were taken, hurt, and threatened, kept from our family and friends. This was done to us so that therapists and lawyers could profit. Piqui's law will protect us and other children from being taken like we were. I stand here today with my brother, my friends Kirsten and Claire, who spoke for me when we could not, and other victims and supporters. Governor Gavin Newsom, please sign Piqui's law and protect me, my brother, and so many other children like us in California. Thank you. And next, it will be Mia Tyler speaking.
I stand here before all of you for all of these people standing behind me and all the people in the world. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, if you're going through custody and the courts, you experience some sort of trauma, and we need to get rid of that. So today I stand before you with an impassioned plea for Governor Newsom to sign Piqui's law, a groundbreaking child protection bill in effect in California. This legislation presents a pivotal moment in our state's commitment to the safety and welfare of our children. Let me explain why it is absolutely imperative for Governor Newsom to embrace this law. First and foremost, Piqui's law is about safeguarding the most vulnerable members of our society, our children. California has always been at the forefront of progressive policies, and by signing this law, Governor Newsom can reaffirm our state's dedication to the well-being of its youngest citizens. Piqui's law introduces stronger measures to protect children from abuse, neglect, and exploitation during custody disputes. It sends a powerful message that California will not tolerate harm to its children. Moreover, this legislation will properly train judges in the family court system, ensuring judges receive comprehensive training on domestic violence, which will help put a stop to these horrific child homicides. By signing Piqui's law, Governor Newsom can help ensure that no child falls through the cracks of the system. Piqui's law will also ban the barbaric reunification camps that are problematic for several reasons. These camps are highly controversial, unregulated, for-profit business that cause trauma in children who have already experienced trauma. These camps force reunification with a parent the child has rejected, oftentimes due to abuse. Finally, there are countless legal and ethical concerns that have come to light through survivor stories and media investigations. We cannot ignore the allegations of mistreatment, coercion, inadequate care, and violations of children's rights. With all this said, this law strengthens the rights of our children. Piqui's law provides more robust support and protection for our children by reducing the trauma they experience during court proceedings. By signing Piqui's law, Governor Newsom can ensure that our justice system treats our children with the utmost care and respect. Additionally, Piqui's law benefits not only individual children, but also our society as a whole. By preventing child abuse and providing adequate support to victims, we are investing in a healthier, more prosperous future for California. Abuse has far-reaching and long-lasting effects on victims, their families, and our communities. By signing this law, Governor Newsom can help break the cycle of abuse in our courts and create a brighter future for us all. In conclusion, Governor Newsom has a remarkable opportunity to make a profound difference in the lives of California families by signing Piqui's law into effect. It's a chance to prioritize child protection, to empower child welfare agencies, to enhance prevention efforts, and to ensure that our children receive the support and care they deserve. I urge you all to join me in advocating for Governor Newsom to sign Piqui's law. Together, we can create a California where children are safe from harm, where families receive the support they need, and where our communities thrive with the promise of a brighter future.
My name is Tina Swithin. I am here today as a survivor and as an advocate, and to issue a plea to Governor Gavin Newsom. During my marriage, I was abused behind closed doors. The post-separation abuse that I experienced was even more painful because it involved institutional betrayal. I was dependent on the family court system for protection, yet this system continued to enable my ex-husband and fueled his reign of terror. I was so afraid of this man, and I had lost all faith in the system, that I slept with a hammer under my pillow for 2 years. After 6 years of litigation while acting as my own attorney, my children were finally protected. It shouldn't have taken that long. Had we been in front of family court professionals who were trained to recognize patterns of abuse, my children would have been spared 6 years of trauma. I am considered fortunate because my daughters are safe, but the scale on which I am considered fortunate is inhumane. These cases are labeled as high conflict. It only takes one person to create conflict, one person who is desperate to maintain power and control. When I escaped the horrors of family court, it was tempting to close that chapter and move forward, but I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to go forward knowing what I know about this system. I can no longer count the number of mothers in my advocacy community who we've lost to suicide, to murder, or to those who are living the same nightmare that Ana Estevez wakes up to every single day. 10 years ago, through my advocacy, I discovered the horrors of reunification camps, and I have invested the past decade researching this nefarious, lucrative industry. These camps have infiltrated California. We are the #1 hotspot for reunification camps in the country. The base cost of these camps, $12,000 to $40,000 for 4 days. They target middle to upper class families, and the costs can easily exceed $100,000 within the first year. Once a child is taken into reunification camp, they are lucky if they are returned within a year. There are stories of children who have been gone for many years. Many do not return until they are 18 years old and age out of the system. We need to ban these camps and send a message to these unscrupulous professionals that children are not revenue streams. Maya Lang's bravery in speaking out has placed reunification camps in the spotlight. Her voice and the voices of other reunification camp survivors will be the change. These are the voices we need to be listening to and amplifying. I invite Governor Gavin Newsom to stand with us in outrage. I ask First Partner Jennifer Siebel Newsom to link arms with us in advocacy. We have a crisis in California, and it's called family court. Signing Piqui's law will save lives, and it will protect children. Thank you. I'd like to invite Sandra Ross.
I want to thank all of the speakers, especially Senator Rubio, who has done so much to protect victims of domestic violence, especially children. And I'm grateful to be an advocate and follow her lead. I also want to recognize Ana, Piqui's mama. I stand in awe. I just want to say that Piqui was known to tell his mom, "You got this, mama. Ana, you got this. We're here. You got this." So my name is Sandy Ross, and I'm the president of California Protective Parents Association, the lead sponsor on SB 331, Piqui's Law, and we stand in solidarity with the other co-sponsors, Family Court Awareness Month and Crime Survivors Support Center. We are here to ensure that the voices of survivors are heard and really listened to. Our organization has been supporting protective parents across the state for more than 25 years. And daily, we hear the cries of parents about how bewildering it is to try to protect a child from abuse in the context of a child custody case, as you can hear from some of the survivors today. Horrifically, about 90 cases have ended with a child being murdered, and 40 of those has happened since Piqui was murdered. And I know Ana is here today to stop that. And that's according to the Center for Judicial Excellence. As advocates, we are seeing parents losing children just by reporting child abuse, especially child sexual abuse. This phenomenon has become predictable to those of us in the world of advocacy. When the system that is supposed to protect betrays, the trauma is compounded exponentially. The training topics outlined in Piqui's law are critically needed. Unfortunately, an unregulated predatory industry is making matters worse for protecting children of domestic violence, and it's an industry that Piqui's law will curtail. Piqui's law has a long list of supporters, which includes humanitarian and filmmaker Angelina Jolie, who we're very grateful for, the California Board of Psychology, University of California Irvine School of Law, Domestic Violence Clinic, the Los Angeles County Sheriff, and the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments. Even the United Nations has weighed in, asking California lawmakers to pass Piqui's law to affect not only the states, but beyond our states. In conclusion, we envision a family court system that is effectively protecting children, and Piqui's law is a step in the right direction. Governor Newsom, we respectfully ask you to sign Piqui's law. The world is not only watching, but they're counting on California to be a leader. Children have the right to live free from abuse, and children's rights are human rights. Thank you.
I want to thank everyone for joining us here today. You know, one of the hardest parts of my job is having to meet parents personally who've lost children, having to meet survivors of domestic violence and have to hear their stories. I'm a survivor myself. And 4 years ago, when I got elected in 2018, I vowed to make sure that when I got to the legislature, they had a voice. And right now, children are crying out from their graves, begging us to do something about this. I have little Angel, who was 5 years old last year, gunned down in my community. I spoke about Sam's sisters, 3 little girls who will never be with us again. Every time I sit down with the parent, it breaks my heart that we're not doing more to save them, to protect them, to give them a future. And so today I stand with Anna. We've had many conversations, many hours in my office. We've tried 3 years to ensure that we put laws in place that protect children. And so I want to continue to push for children's safety. I want to continue to advocate for victims of domestic violence. And I want victims out there to hear us. We're here for you. We see you, we listen to you, and we want you to be safe. There's help. So please get help. We're here for you. Thank you, everyone.